In the world of professional wrestling, everything is supposed to follow a script. From the entrances to the high-flying moves, and even to the post-match celebrations, every detail is planned for maximum entertainment. But sometimes things don't go according to plan. Some wrestlers, due to ego, personal vendettas, frustration, or even just to send a message, decide to throw the script out the window. They go off-book. They hijack the match. They sabotage everything. And when they do, the results can be shocking, hilarious, or downright disturbing. These moments remind us that wrestling, despite being scripted, is very real when it comes to egos and emotions. So today, we're diving deep into 10 shocking incidents where wrestlers purposely sabotaged matches, destroying storylines, infuriating promoters, and leaving fans stunned. Stay tuned till the very end, because number 10 is one of the most controversial incidents in wrestling history. And don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel for more epic wrestling stories, and ring the notification bell so you never miss a backstage bombshell. Let's jump right in. We kick things off with a match that was designed to be bad, intentionally. Legendary wrestlers Mick Foley and Owen Hart were two of the most talented and beloved figures in wrestling history. But during a house show in San Jose, they tried to do something completely different, have the worst match of their careers on purpose. Why? Because Dave Meltzer, the respected and sometimes polarizing journalist behind the Wrestling Observer newsletter, was in the audience. Foley and Hart figured it would be hilarious to mess with him by giving him a match so bad that he'd be forced to rate it a -5 stars. What followed was pure chaos. They sold moves that didn't land. They slapped each other with popcorn bags. Owen even laid down in the ring to make popcorn angels. Stone Cold Steve Austin, who was the special enforcer for the match, reportedly laughed so hard backstage he could barely stand. The plan, however, backfired. Meltzer was in on the joke, or at least amused by it. He didn't see it as a terrible match, but rather a comedy act that got over with the crowd. Foley later admitted in his autobiography, "Have a Nice Day," that despite their efforts it was still entertaining. What this proves is simple. Even when two ring generals try to tank a match, they're still better than most trying their best. And it's moments like these that reveal how multidimensional wrestlers like Owen and Foley truly were. Bret, the Hitman, Hart, and Rick, the Nature Boy Flair, are both considered wrestling royalty. But when they stepped into the ring together, magic didn't happen. Instead, ego clashes and bitter rivalries behind the scenes led to multiple matches being ruined, deliberately. In his autobiography, Bret revealed how underwhelmed he was working with Flair. He called Flair a routine guy, someone who did the same match over and over again, no matter the opponent. Hart believed Flair had zero psychology, and that he didn't understand how to build a match for drama and emotional impact. Hart alleged that Flair frequently sabotaged their matches, messing up comebacks, refusing to cooperate with the flow, and dominating the match with meaningless spots. According to Hart, Flair simply wanted to go full speed with no storytelling. But Flair didn't stay quiet. In return, he claimed Bret was overly self-important and had limited charisma. He accused Hart of being too rigid and uncooperative, refusing to deviate from his usual routine. Flair once said he could have been president of his own fan club. The beef between them continued for decades, with both firing shots in interviews. One infamous incident reportedly happened after Bret won the WWE title from Flair in 1992. Hart, riding high on his victory, allegedly declared to Vince in the locker room, "I'm champ now." Flair, already dealing with personal struggles and depression, never forgave the slight. This resentment translated into their matches. What should have been dream showdowns often turned into awkward, chemistry-lacking performances. It's a rare case where two of the greatest simply couldn't make it work. Now, let's talk about the infamous SummerSlam 2005 match between Shawn Michaels and Hulk Hogan. A match remembered not for its greatness, but for its petty backstage drama and comedic overselling. The backstory? WWE wanted a two-match feud. Michaels would lose the first, Hogan would lose the second. Simple enough. But Hulk Hogan Hulk Hogan refused to return the favor. The reason? He claimed to be injured. Shawn Michaels didn't take the news well. Instead of playing it straight in the ring, he decided to send a message. Throughout their match, Michaels turned every punch, every clothesline, every bump into a ridiculous over-the-top sell. He flopped like a fish, flew across the ring on a simple push, and turned the entire bout into a comedy sketch. Fans were confused. Hogan, staying in character, continued to wrestle seriously, but Michaels turned the entire match into a parody. Afterwards, Michaels denied trying to sabotage the match and said he was just playing a classic heel. But the message was loud and clear. If Hogan wasn't going to honor the original agreement, then Michaels was going to embarrass him. This match is now a part of wrestling lore, often used as an example of how real-life tension can bleed into scripted entertainment. It's a shame, because had they played it straight, we might have seen one of the best matches of the 2000s. WrestleMania 32 featured a no-holds-barred street fight between Brock Lesnar and Dean Ambrose. On paper, it had the potential to be one of the most brutal, memorable matches in modern WrestleMania history. But what actually happened was a total flop, and not because of Dean. According to Jon Moxley, Ambrose's real name, the problem was Brock Lesnar's complete lack of interest. Despite Ambrose pitching wild stunts, barbed wire, fire extinguishers, chainsaws, and more, Lesnar said no to everything. Not only that, but Lesnar wasn't even around for most of the build-up. In later interviews, Moxley expressed his frustration. He was ready to go to war in that ring, to leave it all out there and make history. But no one, not the producers, not Vince McMahon, and certainly not Brock, seemed to care. Paul Heyman later defended Brock, stating he wasn't lazy, just selective. But fans didn't buy it. When the bell rang, what we got was a boring match that lacked weapons, drama, and excitement. In hindsight, this could have been Dean Ambrose's star-making moment. Instead, it felt like a wasted opportunity and a match that one man clearly sabotaged by doing the bare minimum. 10 wrestlers who intentionally sabotaged matches, a deep dive. If there's one man known for unpredictability in the ring, it's Bruiser Brody. A hardcore icon and legendary brawler, Brody was revered for his intensity and feared for his stubbornness. One of his most bizarre in-ring moments happened during a 1987 cage match against a young and rising star, Lex Luger. Luger was still green at the time, relatively new to the business, and unsure how to handle sudden in-ring chaos. That's exactly what Brody brought to the table, or rather what he refused to bring. Midway through the match, Brody simply stopped selling. Punches bounced off him like he was made of stone. Grapples didn't register. He just stood there, staring. Lex was dumbfounded. He tried to keep the match going, but with Brody no longer cooperating, there was nothing he could do. Eventually, the referee called for a disqualification. Backstage, Luger confronted Brody, expecting an explanation. Brody simply shrugged and said, "Don't worry about it." Theories about Brody's behavior vary. Some say he didn't respect Luger, who hadn't yet paid his dues. Others believe it was a test, a rite of passage in Brody's eyes. Regardless, it was a prime example of a match being sabotaged in real time by a veteran refusing to play along. In retrospect, it was a learning experience for Luger, but for fans watching, it was one of the strangest matches ever, one that felt frozen in time. January 4th, 1999, the night the wrestling world groaned in unison. Kevin Nash, the reigning WCW World Heavyweight Champion, was set to defend his title against none other than Hulk Hogan. It had all the ingredients of a mega showdown. Instead, we got the now infamous finger poke of doom. As the match began, Hogan and Nash circled each other. Then, in an act that mocked everything fans love about pro wrestling, Hogan lightly poked Nash in the chest. Nash felt like he'd been shot. Hogan covered him. 1, 2, 3. Just like that, Hogan won the WCW title. The crowd erupted, but not in cheers. Fans were furious. The match was an inside joke, a sign of how far WCW had fallen from grace. Even a Goldberg run-in afterward couldn't salvage the moment. The match, and the finger poke, became symbolic of WCW's creative decline. Rather than elevating new stars, the company recycled the same main eventers and indulged in ego-driven booking decisions. To this day, it's remembered not just as a match sabotage, but as a turning point. The beginning of the end for WCW's dominance. If the finger poke of doom was a joke, Bash at the Beach 2000 was an all-out mutiny. The plan was for Jeff Jarrett, the WCW World Champion, to defend his title against Hulk Hogan. But backstage politics blew everything apart. Reportedly, Hogan had creative control written into his contract and refused to lose. Vince Russo, WCW's head writer, was furious. As a workaround, Jarrett walked to the ring, lay down, and let Hogan pin him. Hogan, confused but playing along, put a boot on Jarrett's chest and took the win. But the drama wasn't over. Russo returned after the match and delivered a scathing, unscripted promo, blasting Hogan for his backstage politicking and selfishness. He declared that the title Hogan won was meaningless and crowned a new champion, Booker T, later that night. The line between storyline and reality was shattered. Fans weren't sure what was real and what was fake. But the aftermath was clear. Hogan was gone from WCW, and Russo's rant became one of wrestling's most iconic shoot promos. Instead of delivering a great match, personal egos and power struggles turned the night into a circus. It was a sad chapter in WCW's downfall, and another match ruined, not by accident, but by design. Few moments in wrestling are as uncomfortable as Jeff Hardy's match against Sting at Victory Road 2011. Slated to be the main event for TNA's pay-per-view, fans expected a hard-fought battle between two legends. What they got was a train wreck. As Jeff Hardy made his entrance, something seemed off. He was moving strangely, interacting oddly with fans, and taking far too long to get to the ring. Behind the scenes, panic was setting in. Hardy was clearly intoxicated. Sting stood in the ring waiting for a match that couldn't happen. TNA executive Eric Bischoff rushed to ringside, whispered instructions, and made changes on the fly. When the bell rang, Hardy barely engaged. Sting hit a quick scorpion death drop. 1, 2, 3. Match over in 90 seconds. The crowd booed, not understanding what they had just witnessed. Sting, visibly frustrated, looked at fans and simply mouthed, "I know. It wasn't just a bad match, it was dangerous." Hardy was putting himself and others at risk. The company faced immense backlash, and Hardy was sent home to seek help. Thankfully, he later recovered and made amends. But the moment stands as a painful example of how addiction can destroy careers and how one man's state of mind turned a major main event into a disaster. Some wrestling stories are dark, and this one crosses the line between fiction and felony. During a 2018 Lucha Libre event, Angel O Demonio and Cuervo were engaged in a brutal casket match. It was supposed to be a hard-hitting but safe spectacle, but after a series of stiff chair shots, Angel O Demonio snapped. Instead of selling or retaliating in the usual wrestling fashion, he picked up a real concrete brick. Yes, a legitimate brick, and hurled it at the back of Cuervo's head. The impact was horrifying. Cuervo dropped instantly, face first, unconscious. Officials and medical staff rushed to the ring as fans looked on in horror. Cuervo survived, but the incident was nothing short of attempted assault. What's worse is how the aftermath played out. Angel O Demonio received only a brief suspension. 34 days. Even more disturbingly, some promoters began using the real-life assault as a gimmick to sell tickets. This wasn't wrestling. This was real violence. The brick-throwing incident is still discussed as one of the most egregious breaches of in-ring safety. It's a chilling reminder that when personal rage mixes with professional wrestling, the consequences can be devastating. In 1991, the WWF partnered with Super World Sports for a cross-promotional event in Japan. The card featured top names like Bret Hart, Hulk Hogan, and Earthquake. But the most infamous moment came from a match between Earthquake and Koji Kitao. Kitao, a former sumo wrestler turned pro wrestler, was known for his attitude problems. During the match, he refused to cooperate with Earthquake. He didn't sell moves, ignored cues, and eventually kicked the referee to cause a disqualification. Then came the shocking moment. Kitao grabbed a microphone and told the Japanese audience, "This is fake!" breaking one of wrestling's cardinal rules by exposing the business live on air. The crowd gasped. Earthquake was visibly furious. Backstage, promoters scrambled to do damage control. Kitao was immediately blacklisted. This wasn't just a ruined match, it was a scandal. In Japan, where wrestling was still protected as a legitimate sport by many fans, Katao's outburst was unforgivable. It disrespected his opponent, the promotion, and the entire culture of professional wrestling. The Koji Katao incident remains one of the earliest and most blatant examples of a wrestler sabotaging a match, not just in performance, but by shattering kayfabe for an entire audience. So there you have it. 10 times wrestlers took matters into their own hands and intentionally ruined matches. Some were subtle acts of rebellion. Others were explosive outbursts fueled by ego, addiction, or pure frustration. From the popcorn-slinging antics of Owen Hart and Mick Foley to the horrifying reality of a concrete brick to the skull, these moments remind us that wrestling is more than just performance. It's a high-stakes game of trust, discipline, and respect. When that trust breaks, the consequences are felt not just in the ring, but backstage and beyond. Did we miss any shocking match sabotage stories? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into wrestling's most controversial moments, smash that like button, subscribe for more wrestling history, and hit the bell icon so you never miss a scoop. Thanks for watching, and remember, even in a scripted sport, chaos is always just one ego away.